Hey guys, welcome back to Banter Bets and BPL. Just Liam here today. Going to do a quick run through of waiver wire pickups, just based on the games last weekend. So keep it short and simple. And why don't we get started with the game of the weekend? Manchester United 3, Brighton 2. Whew. I bet on this game. You guys know if you listened. This was a crazy one. Probably my luckiest gambling win ever. Probably Manchester United's luckiest win ever. I cannot believe they won that game. They got killed by Brighton. It's shocking to me that Pogba keeps playing when he is one of the worst players in our starting 11, and he just doesn't get rotated out. He doesn't care about the team. They keep playing him, and he just puts in bad performance. And the amount of complacency he must have is insane, because no matter how bad he is, Ole keeps playing him. Play Van de Beek, play McTominay, play someone more hungry than Pogba. That's what you got to do, okay? It's not hard. It's not like he should not be just walking into the team and doing whatever he wants. He has had like 3 good performances for us ever almost. Yeah, Pogba needs to be dropped. Rashford with a nasty goal. That was sublime. He had White flopping like a fish out of water. Obviously, Rashford should be owned. Pogba, I think he should be owned because there's an inordinate amount of faith being shown in him. But I don't think he should be starting, and I don't think you should be happy to have him on your fantasy team because he doesn't really produce either. So keep him around as your 4th or 5th mid, but don't be trading him for a guy like Firmino, which is what happened in our league. Martial has been quiet to date. I would be looking to buy low on Anthony Martial. Maybe his owner's a little frustrated with how he started off slow. Maybe you send him a cheeky offer, someone who started a little hotter. Maybe someone like, Callum Wilson, who scored this weekend. A forward on a mid-level team who's been scoring a little bit more. I wouldn't be offering him Calvert-Lewin because Calvert-Lewin looks legit, but someone like Callum Wilson or of that ilk, say, yeah, Martial hasn't looked very good. You should be playing that card and trying to maybe buy him for low. Maybe give him a solid midfielder and just a solid forward who's scored a couple times. A Mopai maybe. I would definitely be looking into that if you had Mopai. Something like that. Speaking of Mopai, looks like a nice, really, really solid forward 2 on your team. So you should be happy if you drafted him. I thought it was awesome to see him score the Panenka penalty, do the crying celebration, and then give away a penalty in the last, not even the last minute. It was after the game. Well, he gave it away in the last minute, and then actually be crying because he lost his team the game. That was just perfect, especially for a Man United fan like myself. In other news on Brighton, I cannot believe Leandro Trossard ended up with zero fantasy contributions. He ended up with 1 point. That guy smacked the crossbar, smacked the post, hit the other post. He hit all 3 pieces of woodwork you can hit, and he ended up with 1 point. I really, really love Trossard, and I would love to have him on my team, and I think you should be very happy if you drafted him. I think he's a midfielder 2 or 3. He's that good. Other Brighton players, I think Connolly definitely should be owned at this point. We know how tough it is to get forwards. He's playing. Brighton looks good. They look like scoring goals, and he should be chipping in with some of those goals and assists. Obviously, you want to own Lamptey. Great defender to own. I don't know how solid Brighton will be in the back, but they seem like they're a mid-table team, which keeps enough clean sheets, and his attacking contribution alone is worth owning. So he's a really, really solid own as well. Last thing we'll say about that is Bruno Fernandes did get it going, goal and assist. Obviously, the goal was a penalty, but hey, guys, that's another theme of this week. They're giving away penalties for like they're going out of style. So if you have a penalty owner, it's going to be nice to own that penalty owner because he's going to be taking a lot of penalties, and penalties count just as much as other fantasy goals. So you can call him Bruno Fernandes all you want, but if he's scoring penalties, he's a player you want on your fantasy team. He also had a super nice pass on the Rashford assist. So the buy low window on him is officially slammed shut, if there even was one. Everton 2, Crystal Palace 1. The Maester, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, at it again. What a player. This guy is on fire. He's scoring hat tricks or 2 goals or goals. He's scoring every game. I think he's got 2 hat tricks now, including the League Cup. He's got a couple 2-goal games. If you drafted him in the 2nd round or somehow snagged him in the 3rd round, then good on you. It looks like you got yourself a forward 1. He's that good. I liked him coming into the season. He's blown my expectations out of the water so far. He obviously won't be scoring at this pace, but he looks like he looks like a forward 1. He looks like a 1st round forward, which is way more than we could have expected from him. Richarlison took the penalty. The theme of this week is penalty takers are valuable. We already knew Richarlison was valuable, but it's a nice little bump if you owned him. Townsend has had a decent start, better than decent. Townsend had a really good start to the season. I wouldn't be buying into that too much right now. We did see Eberechi Eze start. I'm still a little more excited by him. Maybe it's just because he's the new toy, new guy on the block, but I would be more inclined to own him than Townsend. I know that sounds crazy right now, but Townsend, we kind of know what he is, guys. Score a couple, then he's going to go missing. He's obviously a hard worker, a good player to own in reality, but those aren't always the best players to own in fantasy. If you have Townsend, I would be trying to sell very high on him. Last thing for Everton, Seamus Coleman, Luka Digne, those guys are obviously should be owned in your league. If Coleman isn't owned, go grab him. He's a really good option. Michael Keane, good option. Mina is good for now. I don't think he'll keep his place all season. I still rate Holgate higher than him. But yeah, these Everton defenders and goalie, even though Pickford isn't that great, you want a piece of these guys because Everton looks like a solid team this year that I think you can rely on their defenders for the whole season to have value, not just be streamers. Chelsea 3, West Brom 3. Callum Robinson doing the Mbappe. This guy, I gave him the curse last week. So he got the banter bets and DPL bump. He got the triple BB because I said that he does not score goals, and he went and shoved it right up my hoop by scoring 2 goals in the first half. And you got to feel for Marco, friend of the pod. He's on the betting portion because he was playing against Pike, who did have Robinson. If you had Robinson this week, good for you, Pike, and good for anyone else who had him. I don't think he's much more than a forward 3, but you know what? We'll see what happens. The reason I don't see him having value moving forward is because I just don't see how the West Brom front 3 can have value all at once. I think Pereira is the guy to own there, and then Diangana maybe as a 5th midfielder. Pereira is like a mid 3. He looks unreal. Diangana maybe is a mid 5. Robinson, is he listed as a forward or as a if he's listed as a forward, then he's a forward 3. If he's a mid, I'm pretty sure he's listed as a forward. If he's a mid, then he's probably like a mid 5 maybe. Forwards are a little tougher to find, so he's a forward 3, but don't be expecting too many more goals from him, guys. So now that I've said that, go back on him to score again this week. Mount and Hudson-Odoi both scored. I'm not high on Hudson-Odoi. I don't think he'll be keeping his place. Well, he didn't even start. I don't think he'll be playing very much with an influx of new players. Mount, I do think, has a solid place. So even though it's going to be tough to buy low on him, but even when the guys come back, maybe that's when you try and buy low on Mount. I think Lampard really likes him, really trusts him. Is Ziyech ever going to play? I don't know. Is Pulisic ever going to play? I'm sure he will. I'm sure both will. But they're not anywhere near the team right now, and Mount's looked like the best player. He's looked better than Havertz. So I think Mount is a player to own, and he will have value going forward. Maybe try and buy low when the competition stiffens a bit. I would be worrying a bit if I drafted Havertz because you probably drafted him high, expecting him to have shown you something so far that wasn't in the League Cup. Abraham is second choice forward, second choice striker, but he's still a hold. He started with Werner today. Maybe we could see more of that going forward. I think when push comes to shove, they're starting Werner over him. But Abraham's obviously a hold, and he's someone, if he's playing, he's a forward 2 for sure, maybe even pushing to a forward 1. Probably as it is, I don't expect him to be a week in, week out first choice player. So he's probably more of a forward 2, forward 3. Definitely a hold still. The Chelsea defense, usually we look to try and find defenders that are starting on big teams because they generally have the better value, but good luck predicting who's going to start for Chelsea this season. Christensen has started every game, I believe. But is it going to be Reece James going forward? Is it going to be Azpilicueta? Azpilicueta came on at halftime and they didn't concede. So, you're going to hold those guys and hope your guy's the guy that plays, but I don't think we're going to be able to predict who's playing in the Chelsea backline with any certainty, other than Chilwell, who you can't be worse than Marcos Alonso defensively. So you're going to hold Chilwell for sure. The other guys, it's just kind of hoping your guy's the one that gets the run. And we'll see. Chelsea will go on a run where they look better defensively. But we got to see it first before being absolutely positive about any of those defenders outside of Chilwell as pickups and guys that you can feel confident owning. Saints 1-0 over Burnley. Tough one for the Burnley bettors. Ings at it again. Ings scores goals, man. I know I've been on record chirping him a little bit, been arguing against him with Brother Keegs, but there's no denying this guy's. He's a forward 1, low-end forward 1, I'd say, just because his lack of service, even though he still scores a lot with a lack of service. But I would say he's a lower-end forward 1, but he's a forward that can lead a team. Forward 1 or forward 2, absolutely happy with that. And that means if you have Ings as your forward 1, you've probably got strengths in other areas. Che Adams is the other forward there. I know he hasn't scored and he hasn't looked like scoring. He's working hard for the team. I think his manager trusts him. I think his manager is going to play him. So I would trust the process with him as a forward 3. Maybe even try and buy low on him. If you got, 4th or 5th midfielder, you want to float an offer to the Che Adams owner saying, hey, Adams looked pretty rough, man. He's going to lose his place. I think that's a good idea. Vidra started. Speaking of forwards for Burnley, speaking of forwards that don't score, Vidra started. Won't be a regular occurrence. That guy never scores goals. If you're desperate to pick up a forward as a forward 3 and hope he keeps his place and maybe chips in with the odd goal, go ahead. But I would not be holding my breath on that one. No Eric Peters in midfield was disappointing. That was one I was hoping would happen last week, but he didn't even play. Burnley actually made no subs, so that was interesting. I don't know if Dyche is trying to send a message to the board with that, but Peters didn't even play at all, so he's obviously a drop. Not holding him for any longer with any faith. If he does, keep an eye on him if he comes back and starts playing in midfield, because then obviously I think he's an immediate pickup as a defender playing midfield. But I don't know. Outside of that, guys, Chris Wood is owned, McNeil's owned. These are guys that are owned. I don't think there's much more on these teams. Maybe Redmond or Armstrong if you like them. Outside of that, there's nothing more than maybe a couple streamers on good matchups. I don't think anyone else has any season-long value for these teams. Sheffield United 0, Leeds 1. Leeds look not bad, guys. And the chosen one, Paddy Bamford, strikes again. This man scored in all 3 games. Just imagine drafting Patrick Bamford, or imagine drafting Rodrigo 8 rounds ahead of Patrick Bamford in a 14-team league, which is what happened in our league. That is criminal, and I'm sorry, Cody, but that is looking just shocking from you. We've known this, guys. Paddy Bamford, he is the chosen one. He's the guy who Bielsa trusts. He's the guy who Bielsa plays. He's the guy you want to own. Rodrigo, not so much. Tyler Roberts starts for Leeds. Like we said, we want a piece of that attacking midfield, but the guy got subbed out at halftime. He's not going to start again. I'd be shocked. So who really cares about that? Ampadu and Burke, I had on my team this week. I thought they're possible pickups. Ampadu, he looked good on the ball. I thought Sheffield United looked pretty good, guys. it just astounds me that their lack of goal threat from their forwards. I don't know how they were so good last year because their forwards just don't really like. Imagine if they had an Ings, a guy like that is potent. Like they just don't have that. Burke looks like he's going to play. He's a midfielder who plays forward. Could have value there as a midfield 5. I'll be keeping him on my team as a midfield 5 for just as long as he's playing. But again, with him, like that's kind of a wait and see. Hold him while he's playing. Hopefully it goes well, but don't be depending on him. Lundstrom may still have value. You know, he was the pen taker. He missed a pen the other week, but pen takers are going to have value. Lundstrom seems like he's playing. He's the most attacking-minded midfielder on that team. So even though he's not the fantasy legend he was last year, I don't mind holding him as a midfield 5, see if he's still on penalty duties next. It was a really good save. Like his penalty wasn't a bad pen. It was Martinez who saved it on Villa. So I don't mind him as a long shot to have value. Coming obviously a big come down because he was a defender last year and it was just epic. But yeah, I think he might have some value still. I thought Ramsdale is looking shaky. You know, I didn't think he was a great signing to begin with. I don't think he really deserved to stay in the Prem. I thought he looked like a championship goalie last year and probably deserved to be there again this year. So, you know, Chris Wilder is a smart manager, probably knows more than me about Ramsdale, obviously, but I think he looks shaky. And Fotheringham was playing in the preseason. I know that's just preseason and those games don't mean much. But if you've got absolute trash on your bench for goalies, for your second goalie, and you want to be getting ahead of the game with goalies, you got to take risks. So, and it's not even a risk if you have trash. So why not pick up Fotheringham, see if he plays this week. Ramsdale looks shaky. If not, then you try again the next week to try to find something. But with these goalies, you can't wait for them to play because they're going to be hot pickups. You gotta try and read who's going to play, if there's going to be a change. Tried to do it with Gunn last week, didn't work, but it's not a high risk move. So I think Fotheringham, if you want to take a flyer on a goalie that could be a starter, go ahead. Spurs 1-1 Newcastle. Oh, another absolute travesty of a VAR pen call. Which leads me into the fact that Callum Wilson's obviously already owned. He's the player to own on Newcastle. If he's taking penalties, gives him that extra bump. So yeah, if you own him, then you're even happier because he's taking penalties. If you own any pen taker, the moral of the story is you're even happier with the way pens are being given out this season. Lucas Moura scored. We obviously know Bale's coming in, guys. I think Lucas Moura is obviously a sell. If you want to try and sell him to someone, that's good. But if you own Moura, you're not selling him for absolute garbage because he's still going to have value the next couple games, the next 3-4 weeks. Since we don't know when Bale's coming back, when he's going to be ready to play, what his fitness is going to look like. So when people are probably going to be looking to sell Lucas, maybe you try and look to buy him and just use him for a couple weeks, right? That's what fantasy is all about, guys. You're not going to own your whole team the whole season. It's riding hot streaks, and this could be a hot streak for Lucas. Fears for his place before Bale's comes in. If you want to go lowball the guy, give him crap, and maybe bring him in for the next game week or two, try and ride him, then maybe sell him high. Okay. I wouldn't be super confident in Gareth Bale's fitness. So I don't mind actually holding Lucas right now and riding high. If you can sell him for like an actual good midfielder, obviously do that, but don't just be looking to give him away. Darlow played net for Newcastle. We thought Dubravka was going to be the starter. I guess Darlow's hurt still. But I wouldn't be surprised if he keeps his spot when Dubravka comes back, because Darlow looked really good and he's been a starting keeper in the league before. So yeah, if you got him, then good for you. If you got Dubravka and you're holding him, expecting him to be a for sure starter when he comes back, then you should not be expecting that at this point, I don't think. Could happen, but I would not be banking on that. Kind of the same thing as Lucas. Ben Davies, you should probably be trying to ship him out, or at least be making contingency plans for him, because he's not long for the Spurs starting lineup. now that they signed Reguilon. Leicester City 5, Man City 2. What a weekend this was for some crazy score lines, guys. Vardy is the man. This guy, speaking like just pure goal scorers, he's got to be the best penalty winner in maybe history. The guy, he gets in, finds the smallest space, knows when players are going to foul, and he just gets in there, and he's just a slimy, in the best possible way, a slimy, squirmy player that gets in there and gets fouled. So he's obviously a lot of fun to own and a lot of fun to watch. Pratt, Barnes, and Tielemans, those are the attacking mids that played. They all played well. Although the Pratt injury could open the door for James Maddison. So if you're a James Maddison owner, he obviously came on, scored that brilliant goal. Finally, we've got some positives about him. If Maddison probably joins the starting lineup this weekend. Pratt probably won't be ready to go. And even if he is, this could be, like, we didn't really think Pratt was just going to start the rest of the season in front of Maddison. This could be his chance to gain that spot back. And I don't think it would be super hard because Maddison's obviously a good player. So you're happy with your James Maddison owner. Leicester defenders have value. Certainly their fullbacks have high value. Attacking fullbacks, Justin Castagna. They contribute. These guys have been contributing to goals every week. Maybe not both of them, but at least one of them. So they're fun to own. Yeah, whoever's playing in the back four for Leicester, if Evans is playing, when Sayunchu's playing, these guys are definitely players you should be owning. Speaking of center backs, have fun picking which center backs are going to be playing for City. Like, they just shipped 5 goals. I know Ake scored, but is Ake really the guy that City's going to use to win the Premier League? They just brought in Ruben Diaz. They're making signing after signing for center back. They have Laporte, who's on the bench. Like, that is a messy situation. Obviously, you're holding Ake, you're holding Laporte, you're picking up Diaz, but these are just guys that you're crossing your fingers and you're hoping are going to be playing every week. And you're hoping Man City doesn't look absolutely shambolic in defense as well. Mendy and Walker have value. They've looked bad. Mendy is not a good defender in real life, but in fantasy, he could have value. This is an attacking team. He's an attacking player. Even though he's garbage at defending in real life, he's a player that could have value. So maybe a little bit of a buy low window for especially Mendy. You know, you go to your Mendy owner and say, this guy's garbage. He can't even defend anything. But I'll take him off your hands for, I don't know, someone like Mings who scored or a defender who scored. I would be floating those offers out for sure. West Ham 4-0 Wolves. Speaking of score lines, guys, I like West Ham. I like watching them. I'm telling you, I don't want to brag, but I think I'm the West Ham whisperer. I'm telling you, Bowen is the mid to own. Antonio is the forward to own. I know Antonio didn't score this week, but these are the guys to own. They're not flashy like some of their other players, but that means that they're not princesses like some of their other players, and they actually produce. Kieran's given me garbage that Bowen isn't going to be producing. Bowen is a good player. This guy scored 25 goals in the championship as a midfielder, okay? And yeah, it's the championship, but guess what? Guys who score 25 goals in the championship as a midfielder score goals in the Premier League and are good players. Kieran, you don't know what you're talking about when it comes to Bowen. Bowen's a mid-3 at the very least. I think I'm very confident in having value going forward. Other mids, Souček, I like Souček as a mid-5. He runs into the box. He scores goals. West Ham players, they're not going to be 4 or 5 of them that are worth owning all year. In terms of attackers, this is as good as it gets this week. They're not all going to be scoring like this, but I think Souček does have sneaky value. Fornals is a decent mid-5. He got 2 assists. David Moyes trusts him. David Moyes is a stubborn manager that doesn't change his team very often. So the fact that Fornals is in means he's probably in for a while. I don't anticipate him having many offensive contributions this season. So I would much rather own Bowen and a little bit rather own Souček than Fornals. I still like Wolves defenders. Okay, they shipped 4 to West Ham. Maybe it's a buy low, but I still want to be picking up Semedo. I still like whoever's playing out of Venegra and Marcal. I like having those guys just to see how that shakes out. I obviously like Cody Boley and Saiz. So I like pretty much everyone on Wolves, except I don't think they're two center mids who are very good reality players. Moutinho and why is his name escaping me right now? He's the goes like this when he scores, smart player. You guys know who I'm talking about. Brain fart right now. But those two players are awesome in real life, not awesome in fantasy. Yeah, that's going to bug me. We're going to move on. Neto is a bit of a, he's playing, he's not really producing. I don't think he's going to be playing for very long, so I don't love him as a player to own right now. Adama Traore is going to be Ruben Neves. Ruben Neves is the center mid who points to his head when he scores because he's a smart player. Love that celebration, by the way. But anyways, don't think he's ownable in fantasy. Adama Traore is going to be better than this. Jimenez is going to be better than this. Those are two guys that you want to own. Pedro Neto, if he keeps playing, I think you do want to own a player who's playing forward, left wing for Wolves, listed as a midfielder. I think he's someone that you want to own. We're going to need to see a goal contribution from him first, though, before we treat him as anything more than an Andros Townsend or someone like that. Monday, Villa 3-0 over Fulham. Oh, Fulham, you guys are shocking. I cannot believe how easy that free kick goal that they scored was. Like Tyrone Mings just literally ran forward. No one was around him. Scored an easy tap in basically on a cross, and there was just no one within 5 yards of him. Craziness. Mings obviously isn't ownable for the rest of the year because he plays for Aston Villa, even though he scored this week. Congrats if you had him, if you streamed him. Like, that's what I'm talking about, guys. This is a week you stream Mings, and he's ownable for this week, but don't be banking on him to be putting up points every week, obviously. Grealish is the man to own for Villa. He looks solid. We know he's their best player. I don't think Villa has many mids that are going to be ownable. That includes those center mids that don't get us forward as much. Hourihan, he's frisky. He could be a streamer. Same with McGinn, but I don't think they get forward as much as I would like my mids to get forward. It was a nice run into the box from Hourihan, but I don't really anticipate him having season-long value. Ollie Watkins is playing forward for them. He's not scoring yet, but that doesn't mean he won't be scoring at all. I think he's a good player, and I think he's maybe a buy low option. And if you do have Watkins, I'd say be patient. Liverpool 3-1 over Arsenal. Lacazette was at it again. That front three is locked in, guys. Lacazette, Aubameyang, Willian are the guys you want to own, obviously. So you're happy if you have them. And Nketiah looks like he's a bench player. Pepe looks like he's a bench player, so if you do own them, then you're not as happy. Speaking of happy, if you're an Ainsley Maitland-Niles or a Bellerin owner, those guys look like they're going to be playing as wingbacks, and we love our defenders that are playing wingbacks, especially for a big team like Arsenal. Clean sheet potential, goal scoring, assisting potential when they're getting forward like that. So Maitland-Niles was a player I wish I would have drafted, and shout out to Chris Pike. He had a good draft, buddy. Usually Pike drafts like horrible, but drafting Calvert-Lewin and Maitland-Niles, good for you, Pike. We'll have you back on the pod someday. David Luiz played. Not the worst option I've ever heard, but I don't really think that he or Holding are going to have solid places. Tierney is the guy that will be playing every week. He's really good. But they've got their Gabriel defender. They've got that Saliba. They've got Socrates. They've got Mustafi. They've got a ton of defenders. Not that any of those guys are really good, but neither are Luiz and Holding that great. So that's more of a, if you want to own those guys to see how it shakes out scenario, but don't be banking on Luiz or Holding to be playing every week for Arsenal. With Liverpool, guys, nothing new. Like, we know pretty much every defender and forward on Liverpool is ownable. Not just ownable, but a fantasy stud probably. Same with their goalie, fantasy stud. Their midfield, I don't really think anyone is that ownable, except maybe Keita, maybe Thiago at a push. But like Thiago is just gonna, like, he didn't play today, or well, Monday. Apparently he might have COVID. which obviously isn't great. But at least he didn't just get left out for the sake of it. But when he does play, he's not going to be in the other team's box making runs, guys. Like, he's not going to be – he's no Suchek, that's for sure. So I don't think he has much fantasy value. And same with all those midfielders. They know their role, and it's not really to contribute goals and assists. That's for the front three and for the fullbacks. So I will say my note for Liverpool is if anyone gets hurt in that attacking three, then Jota is going to be the guy to own. If I have Jota, I'd obviously prefer to have Jota playing every week for Wolves than playing once every 6 games for Liverpool. But maybe you hold him for a bit, see if he – like, he's tough to produce off the bench, but if he scores maybe, I don't know, a couple goals off the bench, maybe he earns a spot start here and there. He's not going to be playing in the big games over the big three there, but maybe he's someone that gets the occasional start against a weak team, which is what you like in fantasy, right? That's going to do it for me this week, guys. That's a wrap. Those are the guys. That's how it's shaking down in fantasy. Make sure you're active on that wire. Guys coming in, Diaz, Semedo, Mendy. Make sure you're making claims for all those guys. You're not just checking, ooh, Mings scored this week, I need to pick up Mings. No, you need to be picking up Diaz and Semedo and guys who are actually going to have value all season, not guys that just scored. So, yeah, peace out and happy waiver wire scouring. See ya.